What is up, you guys? Martin McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. So I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate a big thing for this tiny channel of mine, and we have officially passed the 400 subscriber mark. I know that's not really a big deal, and I know YouTube, these guys have like millions of subscribers, but you know what, man? For a tiny little channel like mine, that's a lot of fun. I think the majority of my subscribers in the last year or so have been primarily been off of shorts. I basically post a video of whatever record I'm listening to or whatever new song is coming out, put it up on the wall or take a picture of it or screenshot it, whatever, and that seems to get the vast majority of the subscribers and the likes, probably because the videos are shorter and it's easier to promote them on YouTube. And you know, that's perfectly fine with me, and I know it doesn't mean a lot. Most people probably wouldn't get excited about this, but this is a fun thing that I like to do to blow off steam, and the fact that I was able to get 400 subscribers, like, it took a long time to even really get to that point, but for me, hey, it means a lot. I met plenty of cool, really good people on YouTube because of it, and for a tiny little channel that I do, that I don't even edit my videos barely for me it means a lot. And I think if anything, the YouTube, the vinyl crowd, heavy metal, like, this is our family. We all accept each other, and I think for us people and us kids who really didn't feel like we maybe didn't always belong or fit in because we were into metal, we were into the darker stuff, we loved Halloween, we loved listening to screaming music to help get through our rough days and our good days, and that's how we celebrate. We mosh, we sweat together, and we just jam to tunes. So for us, you know, that's our escape. That's how we see life. I wouldn't be able to see my life without heavy metal in it. It's how I view the world, other than my career and my job and all that stuff, and you know, my family, my faith, all these other things. I feel like heavy metal is kind of how I see the world. So you know what, man? To celebrate my birthday this month and hitting 400 subscribers, that's pretty exciting for me. So you know, hopefully the channel will continue to grow. I'm hoping one day I get to reach out and meet more people. And you know what? I thank guys like Brain Smasher, Scourge of Vinyl, and Classy Lonnie Metal, Metal Marty Mac, all those guys, because I know their channels are doing great. The Death Doom Metalhead, Mark, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, brother. I forgot your channel, but I'm going to post it down below. Mark, oh my gosh. You know what I'm talking about, though. English dude, great heavy metal channel. He's doing a lot of videos on the Saws, the Law. His channel's fantastic. But all those guys have like kind of inspired me to do this channel since 2000, I think. So this has been a long journey. I mean, I know it's only 400 subscribers, and that's okay. But for me, it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I got to reach out and meet new people because of this. And because of that, 400 subscribers, and my birthday this month, we're going to talk about the behemoth that is Paradise Lost and their newest record, Ascension, off of Nuclear Blast Records. I bought this and pre-ordered it the day it went on pre-order. I couldn't wait. I ended up getting it through the Nuclear Blast channel because it was a little bit easier as opposed to going through their website, which is more expensive and paying like the tariffs and all that stuff. Nuclear Blast was actually a lot easier and a little bit for me to get to. So we got the major box set. And obviously when I knew they were coming out with another box set, I had to get it. I got the one last time for Obsidian. Love them very much, and this has been a phenomenal journey going through this record and playing it from start to finish. So of course we're going to break down this box and talk about it, but they've only gotten better. This band is fantastic. I mean, I really love everything they've done. They had some weird stuff. Like, I would say the album I listened to the least by this band is probably Believe, and it's not a it's not a bad album. It's just, it's not my favorite. It's probably the album I spend the least amount of time on. But this album has so many influences throughout their discography, much like Obsidian, which was a phenomenal album. This record takes you through the whole journey of everything they've ever done, from different types of Nick's vocals as well. I mean, he goes from his growls to a new layering screams that I've never really heard him do that much. He's got his shouting cleans, his beautiful cleans that he really spends a lot of time on and creating purposeful and sing-along melodies, and then just brute force in a lot of songs. The riffs are fantastic. We get a lot of chug-a-chug riffs. We get a lot of things that are reminiscent from everything from In Requiem to the self-titled album era to Fate Divides Us era to, you know, coming off of Medusa, even Obsidian era, and even a lot of stuff like a lot of chugging riffs and growls remind me a lot of like Beneath Broken Earth and the Plague Within era, and then going all the way back to Lost Paradise, Gothic, going to Draconian, 1 Second. They really do cover everything. So we're going to talk about this, but first I want to take you through the album and just some thoughts that I had, while I was listening to it, and how each song really breaks down into something meaningful and purposeful. Every song itself is its own journey. And I thought they really did a fantastic job with this album. Couldn't be happier with it. But yeah, Paradise Lost, I mean, it's over an hour long with the 2 bonus tracks, so titling it 12 tracks, it's an hour long. You get every second and minute you've been waiting for this record. The very first song, you have this operatic classical introduction, goes right into the guitar leads, and then layered by a big scream from Nick himself. And that's reminiscent, I would say, of, a lot of this album is reminiscent of this, like, with just the big scream right in the beginning. Really, the first track reminds me a lot of the self-titled era itself. Right after the big scream, you get this fast guitar riff meant for moshing and, running into each other, running around, this big, Venom-like riff, almost like a Testament-like riff. Nick's growls and leads are perfect. Not a lot of cleans on this song. And of course, it goes right into these amazing guitar leads that are so reminiscent of the self-titled era that we've begun to know through the Paradise Lost, that without Paradise Lost and without the lead guitar, you do not have this band. But, it picks up, it goes right into it right out the gate, like, we're back, we're a bunch of beasts. And, it reminds you that this is what you wanted the record to pick up the record for. This is Paradise Lost. It's a powerful intro. It drives you right into the record. It's got a big, bombastic, lingering finish, and that comes off with like this really beautiful melody, and then really haunting finish where Nick finally says, "As we all die," and that's the finish to the first track. The second track just reminds me of like winter snow, cold, windy air. This beautiful guitar melody reminiscent of like the band Daylight Dies from North Carolina. A lot of clean vocals reminiscent of the Draconian era mixed with self-titled. And then big chugs with a big chugging riff in the verses. Very reminiscent of self-titled again. The 1 Second era clean vocals. And that's what I probably have to say I loved about that song a lot. Reminded me a lot of the 1 Second era. Track 3, you go right back into growls. It reminds me a lot of Beneath Broken Earth, The Plague Within. Perfect guitar leads that are layered throughout the song. One of my favorite lamenting dark choruses on this album, and the guitars reminded me a lot of Redshift or Grey. Into the 4th track, intro just like Ember's Fire. A big, open, ferocious riff. Reminded me a lot of In Requiem, Ember's Fire mixed together. And then going into the next track, you have this really soft intro that's lamenting. It's almost happy, but almost kind of like Opeth era, like Reverie, Ghost Reveries era, kind of like this happy but somber melodic introduction, a little bit of classical acoustic guitars, and then everything gives birth to this Host and Symbol of Life era melody. Very haunting, very, almost hitting the like a touch of that electronic era that you got from Host and Symbol of Life. Going into the next track, it's dark, it's bluesy. Very Bay Area sounding thrash once you get into the riffs. It reminds me a lot of like Requiem era Paradise Lost. The next track, calm, graveyard introduction, almost ethereal, going into giving way to Nick's vocals with the main the main chorus, vocals and verses kind of opens into a big wide wall of sound, especially with Nick's vocals and the guitar riffs. There's a little bit of classical like acoustic guitar sound with minor chords, and it reminded me a lot of what you get from like Daylight Dies. Like, I know I've mentioned that a lot, but very Candlelight Records, very Daylight Dies era, dismantling devotion kind of sound. Almost as well as like the band Draconian itself reminded me a lot of them. Nick goes through all of his ranges in this song as well. He goes from lows to growls to high cleans to his mid-range cleans. And, you know, just unbelievable, like the way they gave way to another one of my favorite melodies in this track. Going into the next one, this is a big treat. Track number 8. This is a big treat with lead guitars, goes right into big chunky riffs, almost like 80s driven, almost like a little bit of Old Venom, Testament, Omen era heavy metal. It's a big headbanger, like big stank face headbanger track. I mean, every time I play it, you're just like, you catch yourself doing it. You have to do it. Almost like two-step hardcore, not like to the equivalent of like two-step hardcore, but a big chunky like stank face headbanger riff. And then, you know, it kind of goes into this weird little stoner pre-chorus, kind of like what Warrell Dane used to do. And then eventually goes into Nick's big shouting cleans, and then his beautiful, like stepwise, devastatingly sad but beautiful clean melody chorus. Probably my favorite, one of my favorites off the record, if not my favorite. It's a cross between his purposeful singing, almost like sing-along cleans, and then his shouting cleans. Into the next track, we have this big power metal riff. Oh my gosh, it's meant for the mosh pit, absolutely. It's like a riff off of like In Requiem with like these amazing growls. The lead guitars in this are just unreal, and it's kind of like a show-off moment for lead guitars as well. Like they allowed every instrument to really be heard in this record, and I really feel like this is like a show-off piece for lead guitar as well. And I mean, they killed it, absolutely knocked it out of the park. Finally, our big main track, our last one. You know, it's interesting how they started. This basically got this beautiful piano intro, and then it goes into like this harpsichord piano sound, a little bit of keyboards, and in here, and you kind of get the feeling like, oh, this could be the last track because the way it's building up. There's a very typical Paradise Lost minor chord drop tuning. Minor chord guitars. It just picks up right into that. Nick's vocals are clean, they're purposeful, they're catchy. This big open face drop tuning guitars, wall of sound, and then now the screams that I've never really heard Nick do before, that I've never really heard on the last couple albums. But this new like layered high screams above growls that we used to see a lot of in like the MySpace deathcore era. Like, it reminded me a lot of that with this layered screams. I mean, the first thing I said when I heard it was, holy shit, and that's why. And then the midsection, you really feel the energy. You feel like the desperation. You feel like the need to run. You feel like you're in just this hollowed village and you're being chased by werewolves. That's the only way I could explain this feeling to me to run. And then it's got this big, chunky, bombastic wall of sound. Every instrument going on high alert. Every instrument is heard into this big, long, haunting, dramatic finale, and it just lingers with the final keyboards to finish the track. And I think that was a perfect way to end the album before you get to the bonus tracks. I think they just knocked it out of the park. I will talk about the bonus tracks really quick. They are also equally important parts to this record, but you could tell they're bonus tracks, just the way they're layered. So the 11th track, big gospel choir, haunting Gothic cathedral. They use some of the best riffs for this track. Death Unites Us era is the best way I can really explain this song. It feels like bleak England. Dual guitar layering, which I loved. This is another thing that they really haven't done a whole lot of, but this kind of had like Omen, Iron Maiden era dual guitar leads going off together. It really pushes the boundaries of this album, and it gives you so much energy while giving you feelings of bleakness at the same time. This is another track where I really felt that feeling where you're running, you feel the need to run like you're being chased, or you're running towards something. You're running towards a big giant mosh pit, you're running towards salvation, and like werewolves are chasing you in a dark village. You really feel that. The cleans here are fantastic. The dual guitars are really a highlight piece of the song. There's a big jumping riff, like jumping together, like you're in an arena. That was definitely meant for this song. This is an arena song, like thousands of people jumping together, like that feeling like you need to get up and jump. But it's also layered with this desperate but beautiful and purposeful chords, growls. The layering is perfect between all the instruments. and then eventually pianos and violins, all of that together. Finally, the last track, it's a big guitar showpiece, big guitar introduction. I would say this is another highlight piece for our lead guitar. Big chunky drums, definitely like the Plague Within era, big chunky drums and guitars, very much like Beneath Broken Earth mixed with Death Unites Us. And then it goes into cleans. There's these guitar pedal, the guitar pedal augmentations are perfect. Almost reminded me a lot of like what you would hear off like a Rob Zombie song, like off of Dragula. Like a lot of guitar pedal layering. And then the finale with guitar solo piece and a fast ending. They didn't waste any time. When they ended the song. They did not mess around. But I would say these bonus tracks are just as important as they are to the rest of the record. But Precipice at the very end on track 10 is really the finale, the true finale to this record. So, I write everything down in here, and I wanted to share that with you guys of how I felt about this record. Overall, it's another masterpiece. I couldn't have asked for anything better from Paradise Lost. So let's talk about this massive tome here that I got. Starting off with the cover art, the vinyl I took behind it, but amazing cover art. Really reminiscent. I mean, Nick talks about it all the time. He grew up in a very religious family, and he talks about his feelings on it. But I really think that the cover art, while giving you the Paradise Lost, I guess you could say, feeling of like where this band comes from, it really does fit the motif of this album and how dark it is. And of course we have our nice back here. This is the limited edition box set. Here's your tracks. Let me show you guys the Gatefold album, of course. Fantastic. There's our boys. Of course, they always end up changing band members, which seems to happen a lot. But this band, you cannot have the greatness of these last couple records without this band together. And I hope to God I get to see them again. Last time I saw them was opening up for Nightwish back in 2007. And I hope to God I get to go see them again. Now, I got a different type of box, and I'm actually it sounds incredible. People say how they feel about picture discs, but I will say this is one of the cleanest sounding picture disc albums. It's 180 gram, heavy as balls, but absolutely stunning, beautiful. And I'm really glad I got this because I've thoroughly enjoyed the journey listening to these and being able to actually look at these. They're incredible. So if you see any copies of this that are left, I would say it's well worth the money. If you're this much of a crazy person like I am, or a mega fan of heavy metal. But I really love the picture discs, and I would buy picture discs again. I love these. I think they sound incredible. And the fact that it's 180 gram vinyl, I mean, that also equivalates to your sound as well. Now, I know I showed you guys this, but let's dig in here. Of course, I showed you guys this. Let's get into our poster, which I really want framed at some point. I have a lot of these like 12 by 12 frames that I've used for others, and I need to buy more. So this is of course, the cover art. I definitely need to get that framed. This is the liner notes with all your track listing, all your guitars, ESP guitars, hell yeah. And then we have our band poster. Also, they did a great job with this, really dark. The postcard, you get the little thing up there. I will not be selling that. That is staying home with Daddy. And we got a beautiful booklet. And, I would love to take you guys through this. Maybe I'll make a short at some point and talk about, actually show you guys everything that goes in here. But it goes through the whole band, all the tracks, these gorgeous pictures. Really unreal. Now, one of the coolest parts that we get with this bonus, which I think is well worth the money, because at the end of the day, I didn't spend that much on it in comparison to what you would have to get with everything else. Of course, we got the CD, which I can't wait to actually play this because I've been playing all my CDs through my Xbox now. But of course, we have our CD and this bad boy. This is our bonus 7-inch with the bonus tracks. So track A is This Dark Town. Track B is A Life Unknown, which is also on the Spotify edition, but this is something I was really looking forward to. They don't do this very often with Paradise Lost, so I'm really glad that they did this and I was able to snag a copy of that. And of course, the inside of our box. So that is it. That is Ascension by Paradise Lost. That is the Deluxe Box Edition. If you or even remotely thinking about this and you want to spend the money and you have the money and you're fortunate enough to be able to spend your free time, I recommend it. I loved it. I open this up at least a couple times a week and just admire it until I can really start to frame it. And I'm just moved into the new place, so things are still a mess. So we're trying to do the room a little bit at a time in between work. But I really, really love this album. Check it out wherever you check out music. It's well worth it. It's Paradise Lost. It's Ascension. Really, they did a phenomenal job. And I just want to say thank you for the 400 subscribers. Thank you for listening to me and listening to my channel, giving me the time of day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are taking care of each other. And peace.